14 years ago, I was a novice swing trader. At the time, I spent about 10 months into my live trading journey building up my first account that I funded with £2,000. And over those 10 months, I built up a pretty healthy balance of 70,000. I thought I could do no wrong. I've cracked it. I've got this. I am the wizard. But one day, for no reason whatsoever, I decided to have a look at something that I'd never traded before. And up until that point, I was only trading Eurodollar. Since then, I've gone into futures trading and I trade commodities and equity indices. But at that time, Eurodollar, it was my thing, right? I decided to have a look at Euro Yen. I thought I had identified a pretty good demand level that I was really sure about. Of course, as soon as I put the trade on, the price went straight through my demand, taking my stop loss. And I don't know why, but without even thinking, I opened up yet another trade. I didn't have a level there anymore. So I'm not exactly sure why that particular loss suddenly bothered me so much. Anyways, the price went through my stop loss again. So I opened yet another position, and that's when I started moving my stop to give it more room. I just wouldn't let go. I kept widening the stop, and of course I also averaged in, until I finally removed the stop loss altogether. 24 hours later, I lost the entire 70k. And that's how I found out what a margin call was. 10 months of work, discipline, analysis, all gone in one day. I was never bothered by losses before that day. So why? Why did it happen that particular day? Why do we lose control? Is it really the fear of loss? It can't be just the fear of loss, because then we'd be afraid of removing the stop loss and putting it all on the line, right? And, maybe for some super novice traders, like their first week and whatever, if they are trading live money that they cannot afford to lose, it might be actual fear of loss. But for the most part, after 15 years of doing this job as a career choice, I can tell you that there are really 3 main reasons that drive this behavior. Now, I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences with this particular problem. So while you're watching, if you hear something that resonates with you, feel free to put a comment down below and even to ask me questions, because I always answer questions in the comments. So please feel free to take advantage of that. And of course, any interaction that you do with this video, liking, subscribing, commenting, even sharing it on Twitter and Facebook, it really helps the channel. Okay, so first reason for removing the stops is that you're trading way too large. So that one loss on one trade makes a huge dent in the account balance. And that's really uncomfortable. So if that's what you're doing, there's a rather easy fix for this. Your position size obviously needs to be smaller. Small enough so that it doesn't make a massive dent, but large enough for you to care about the setup itself. You don't want to risk things like $2 because you'll be clicking buttons all day long, since it doesn't matter, it's only $2, right? But it should matter, so a good starting point is about $30 to $50. It's a good amount to practice with. Now the next reason number 2 for removing the stop losses is usually a lack of confidence. It's that fear that if you lose this trade, you won't be able to find another setup that day. And I've been there when I was a novice. We all go through this. It's just normal steps of development. You enter this next trade in the same direction without much thought or analysis. And then typically you enter yet another trade after that. And then when that one doesn't work out, well, then you're like, right, I'm going to change direction now. Because that makes sense. And then that one loses too. Now at this point, you're just battling yourself. And I'm gonna show you some technical ways to cope with this problem. But before then, third and final reason why you move or remove your stop is because you're largely unsure of the size of the stop that you should be using. So removing a stop loss altogether, it seems like a decent choice, because in your head, you'll get out when your level doesn't work out. Until the day when you get biased and you don't exit the trade that has gone wrong, and then the whole day goes pear-shaped. So what can you do to prevent yourself from doing these things? The solution for the first problem, trading too big, well, just trade slightly smaller. The solution for the lack of confidence in finding another setup would be to ensure that you have multiple orientation points and scenarios that consider both directions. Look at your level as sort of a line in the sand and apply some kind of conditional logic to it. So rather than just saying, oh, I have a supply zone and that's it, have other levels and a backup plan. And by the way, the backup plan cannot be, I'll just trade with the direction of the break as soon as the level breaks. Because honestly, most time that's a terrible idea. Because a lot of the times there's lack of liquidity after that initial break, especially if it's like a big sort of established institutional high or a low. So that's why having a level after the break to go into a pullback trade with the same direction but maybe slightly lower, that would be a better choice. For other orientation points that you can use, for example, you can have the supply and demand zone as your main area, then maybe a distribution curve, and maybe after that, some kind of an ATR level, average true range level. Now, in my methodology, we have several levels that use very different concepts. I have the value area, initial balance, supply and demand zone, various average ranges, and also time of day when these levels should be reached. Now, for the third problem, what should the size of your stop loss be? Well, you need to find a way to scale your stop losses to the liquidity of whatever product you're trading. And the point is to have a stop loss that is small enough to have enough space for your target to work out within the day's range, and yet large enough to keep you in the market long enough to reach that target. And how can you tell if your stop loss is too small or too big? Well, if all of your trades are typically done in the blink of an eye, that's not a good thing. It means your stop is way too small. And how can you tell if your stops are too big? Well, your trades will never reach even 1 hour target, let alone a robust intraday target of 2 to 3 hour multiples. So you'll be stuck in a negative risk reward territory. So try to implement some of these in your trading and report back to me, because I would love to hear how you did. So come back and let me know. If you're looking to improve like your numbers, your overall approach and your results, you may want to have a look at this video here where I talk about the measure that sounds scary, but I promise it really isn't. It's called risk of ruin. That's it for now. Let's try to be less of a muppet and more market stalker with every passing day. Goodbye.